Hello, namaste, and welcome to another episode of the Yinning at Life podcast. I'm your host, Kimberley Roberts of Soulful Yin, and I'm a passionate, crazy ass, badass Yin Yoga teacher and reflexology therapist. And I'm here dishing out all things related to Yin Yoga, acupressure, reflexology, mindset, and lifestyle hacks, tips, all the things. This is like your one-stop shop for creating what I call that yinning at life vibe. So thanks for pressing play on today's episode. Let's dive in. We're talking about why do I get pissed off when my hips are so tight? Like, what's up with that, right? Like, what is up with that? People are like, I don't get it. Like, I'm really like my tits are really tight, but what has that got to do with me being angry or frustrated? And that's what we're talking about today. So, just to let you know, I'm in my podcast recording studio slash my filming studio for my Yin Yoga online classes. And this is also where I do my in-person reflexology treatments, all in this space. Can you believe it? Like if you could see the other side here, you would see like the lights are set up everywhere. Got my phone here. I've got my yoga mat in the corner and I've got my massage table over in another corner. Like it's like, and it's incredible. I couldn't be more blessed to have such an amazing space to work with. So let's get back to like, I get students tell me all the time when I'm in these poses that are stretching out my hips, why do I get so irritated? Like, why am I so frustrated? Why do I get pissed off? Why do I feel almost like rageful, right? And it's like, let's talk about that connection. So I'm going to dive a little bit into Chinese medicine, meridian theory, so that I can connect those two dots for you and you can understand the relationship. Okay. Because it works both ways. You can be super pissy, and frustrated or irritated, and then your hips get tight. Or it could be the other way around. Your hips are tight, and then all of a sudden you get frustrated and pissed off. Okay. So we're going to talk all things meridian theory. Now, if you're new to meridian theory, you may want to check out my episode from season 1 that's all about the connection between our meridians and our emotions and our organs because it's all connected. But since you're here right now, let's talk about the hips. Now, in Chinese medicine, each one of your organs has an emotion associated. So I want you to think of like your organs are like suitcases, okay? And we put stuff in our suitcases. So your liver in particular stores anger, frustration, irritation, resentment, rage, right? Like if you ever, see an alcoholic who, if you just know that they're always angry, right? Well, their liver is like super taxed, right? Because they're an alcoholic and they're drinking all the time. And let me tell you, I know this so well because I was married to an abusive alcoholic for 25 years. And so I saw a lot of anger. I also saw like his hips really tight and he didn't understand the connection. And as much as I would explain it to him, he'd be like, I don't get it. And it's bullshit. And I'm like, it's not fucking bullshit. It's actually like, it's real. Like, this is real. So your body has this energetic meridian system. I want you to think of it like all these little garden hoses running through your body. They start either in your feet or your hands, and they all have a point where they start, right? And then they have an ending point as well. They travel throughout the body. They travel through the connective tissue and the fascial layers in your body. And these fascial layers and these connective tissue get stretched in a yin pose. So if you take like a pose where you're stretching the inside of your thighs, what's happening is you're tugging at the inner thigh, which is pulling on your hip, right? But here's the super cool part. This is where you're also tugging at that liver meridian channel that runs through the inside of your legs. It starts on your foot. It's where it starts, and it travels up in through your inner legs. And it at some point it travels through, the rest of the body in the eyes over the face, but it also lands in the liver itself, that organ, right? And so I want you to think of it almost like when you're in a yin stretch and that garden hose is being activated. So it's like I turned on the tap on the hose, right? And all of a sudden it's like, okay, the water is starting to flow. Well, in this case, it's the energy that is starting to flow through the channel and it's moving its way up through the whole meridian channel, but also in your liver, helping to clear out any imbalance. Now, imbalance could look like mental, like maybe, like you can't focus properly. You got to like really difficult to concentrate. Maybe it's emotional, right? So like, yeah, I'm frustrated or I'm irritated or I'm angry. Or sometimes it's physical. Like, okay, there could be liver cyst, which is what happened to me. There could be, jaundice, eye floaters, like hormonal imbalances. Like there's so many things that the liver is responsible for, right? Because I mean, it filters so many things and it has over like 600 functions that it does every single day. So it's like it's always active. And that's the other thing is that when we're not taking care of our body physically, mentally, and emotionally, we're taxing our liver and putting an extra load of work on it that it doesn't need to do, right? It already has 600 things it has to do every single day, but we overload it. And how we overload it is like through being sedentary all the time. Like your liver likes when you fucking move your body. So it needs a little bit of that yang energy of like, well, okay, let's move. So going for a gentle walk, right? Or moving your body, in a different way. Maybe, you do cardio or strength training or whatever it is, kickboxing, Zumba, whatever. But like your liver likes when you move. Now, on the inside, the flip side of that, like your liver also likes when you're fucking calm and super chill. Okay. It doesn't like drama. It doesn't like stress. It doesn't like anxiety. And your liver in particular is one of the really special organs in Chinese medicine because although it has its own primary emotion of anger that it holds, it's also the filtration for every other emotion. So every emotion that you feel at some point is filtered through your liver. So that organ is like always on. It's working a lot. So we got to do a lot to help it. So back to like the yin poses. So when we do these yin poses that stretch the inside of the legs, things like, butterfly, dragonfly, dragon, right? Where we're stimulating those inner thighs, we're tugging at that meridian channel and we're clearing out any blockages, right? And blockages can often feel like really tight, like really tense, right? Like you're in a wide-legged forward fold, right? So you're in a dragonfly position and you're stretching out the inside of your legs. But here's the thing, like this channel runs through the inside of your legs and it's like a garden hose, right? So a garden hose can have kinks in it and the kinks create blockage. So it's the same thing. You're in the pose and you're holding the pose for like 2, 3, up to 5 minutes and you're feeling the stretch, but sometimes you'll be like, oh, I can really feel it in this one spot versus like I don't feel it as much in this other spot. Well, that's probably where there's a blockage, right? So there's like a knot, there's like a tension in that part of the meridian channel. And so the long held yin stretch helps to basically clear that kink out or that blockage out and then filter out up to the liver and help to create balance there. So helping us to process and release the emotion, whether it's anger, frustration, irritation, rage, resentment, right? And it clears it out. And so this is often why like people will have these emotional reactions or responses when they're in a yin pose and they'll be like, all of a sudden it's like, oh, I feel like something's brewing, something's coming up. And then all of a sudden, like they'll have a moment where they just fucking lose it, right? So if you're stimulating, like say the liver meridian channel, and you might not necessarily be feeling those, you know, emotions of frustration or anger at the time, But you're stewing in this pose for a few minutes. You're breathing, you're trying to be still, right? You're trying to get that energy to move. And as the energy starts to move, it's got to go somewhere. Well, where do we want it to go? Out, because your emotions are meant to move through you. They're not meant to stay in you. So as the emotion is coming up, just know that that's actually an indicator that your body is ready to let it go. This is where people often block it and they'll be like, oh my God, I'm angry right now. I don't want to be angry. So they shut it fucking down. That's actually the worst thing that you can do at that point because it's your body signaling you, hey, it's okay now. Let's let this come up. So I do want to talk about anger and releasing it in an appropriate fashion. Okay. So never are we looking to direct the anger to somebody else unless you were in a threatening situation, right? Like say somebody was threatening your life. Well, obviously, right? If you're angry and you're defensive, you have to be. But if you're in a yin pose and the anger is coming up, don't be directing it at somebody else. Just let it come up, acknowledge to yourself, yeah, I'm fucking angry right now, pissed off right now. I'm really pissed. I'm fucking pissed, right? Like say it to yourself and let it go. Continue breathing because this is your opportunity to clear it out and to feel better. And this is what we want in life. We want to feel good. We want to feel calm. We want to feel composed. We want to feel in control, right? Of our body, of our mind, and of our life. And if you keep shoving the emotion back down as it starts to come up, it's like you're shoving the clothing or whatever back into the suitcase. And then you're trying to close the suitcase, but there's so much fucking shit in it at this point that you're like, oh my God, like I can't even close this anymore. And it explodes, right? It's like, it's the same kind of thing when you're coming back from a trip and you bought all this stuff and you're trying to shove it in your suitcase. And it's like now, your suitcase doesn't close properly. And you're like, shit, now what do I do? Well, you either buy another suitcase or you take some shit out. Well, in this case, there is no other suitcase to purchase. You only have the one option. Well, actually, you have two. You can suppress the emotion, which is what most of us do, right? We just suppress it. Or we can acknowledge it and let it move through. Because I'll tell you, it doesn't stay forever. And that's the one thing. People are often like, okay, well, if I'm angry right now, like how long am I going to be angry for? Like, is this going to be days? Is this going to be weeks, months? Like, can you give me a time frame? Like, I get that question asked in my yin yoga classes that I teach all the time. All right, so I'm angry. How long am I going to be angry for? I don't know, but I'll tell you this one thing. If you keep suppressing the emotion, it will keep lingering. So the sooner you acknowledge it, the sooner you allow it to process, and the sooner you allow it to move through you, the faster you are going to shift from feeling angry and pissed to feeling like grateful and bliss, right? That's the process. This is why yin is so powerful. Now, this liver meridian channel that we were talking about here, that's related to the liver, it runs through the inner thighs, which is part of your hips, right? And so this is the connection. You're tugging at the channel. You're stimulating it. You're moving energy. Your hips store that meridian channel because it runs through it. So that area of your body, that container, the hips, are being stimulated and stretched out. So not only are you going to start to feel the stretch, but some of you might start to feel the emotion associated with the organ that you are tugging on. And again, if you want like a whole like DL on what each organ is, paired with in terms of like the body and the meridians, go back to my episode number 4 from season 1, the connection between our meridians, our emotions, and our organs, because I map out the whole thing and it's pretty clear. And honestly, like once you get just like a base understanding of that concept, of the fact that your organs hold emotions, and you know what part of the body the meridian channels run through, because some of them run through the upper body only, some of them run through the lower body only, then when you start to practice yin, it's like you can know, like, pretty quick. It's like, okay, well, I'm feeling sadness right now. I know I'm going to do some upper body yin poses because that helps stimulate the heart and the lung meridian channels that run through the upper body. Boom. All you need to know, right? If you want to take it deeper than that, sure, you can study Chinese medicine like I did. But for the purposes for most people, you just want to know, like, okay, I don't want to feel sad right now. I would like to feel some joy and some happiness. Okay, I can do some upper body meridian yin yoga. I'm feeling angry. I'm feeling fearful. I'm feeling worried. Okay, well, I'm going to do some lower body yin yoga meridian practices, right? Like, and whether you're getting onto the mat and you're just there because you know what, my body is tight. I sit all day. I need to stretch. Perfect. That's great. But just know that it's the practice is extending way above and beyond that. There is always some emotional, energetic, mental, physical sensation that is happening, whether you are conscious of it or not. And that's okay. Like some people come to the mat and they just are happy with the stretch. Some people come to the mat, they're happy with the stretch. They want a little more. They want to know about emotions and stuff. Some people come to the mat and all they're interested in is the emotional processing and releasing. The stretch is kind of like, oh, that's like a bonus. It's like, boom, great. Yeah, my physical body's going to feel better. That's a good thing. But what I'm really stoked about is the fact that emotionally, I'm going to feel better because we are meant to experience all emotions. However, they're not meant to linger around. Even what, people perceive as good emotions, right? Like joy and happiness and peace. Like in Chinese medicine, none of your emotions are considered good or bad. They're neutral. They're just indicators of where you are at vibrationally, okay? And so if yeah, I'm angry, I'm going to work on liver meridian practices, right? And for the most part, a lot of those practices are going to tug at the hips. So this is why, like, if your hips continuously get tight because you're doing either movements that create more tightness, or you're just like sitting around a lot and you're compressing right in that midsection where your hips are and they get super tight, then at some point, if you're not addressing the release of the physical tension, it's going to move into an emotional blockage because it's all your body is fully connected. Body, mind, and spirit, body, mind, and soul, whatever you want to use. Like you can't disconnect your emotions from your body. You can't disconnect your thoughts from your feelings, your emotions to what your energy is. It's all connected. Everything is connected. So whether your hips are really tight first or you're really angry first, it doesn't really matter because they both directly affect each other. And that's just the way it rolls. So the next time that you're feeling like, oh my God, my hips are really tight, just check in and see, is it just that or is there anything else? Because I can guarantee you, and a lot of the time, even if there's a tiny, minute amount, there's probably some frustration in there or some irritation, right? Or maybe even some anger. And it's okay. It's okay to have those emotions, but just let them go through you. So if you want to experience releasing anger because your hips are so tight, check out my SolefulYin web app because I have a plethora of practices up there for the lower half of the body, ranging from as little as 5 minutes up to 40 minutes. There's lots of classes in there for your hips because you know what? I know people have tight hips And I know people get pissed off because I know the connection between both. So you're more than welcome to check that out. I'll link that up in the show notes for you. I've got free practices up there that you can just like go in and check out and just get a feel for what Yin Yoga can do for you, because I say this over and over and over again. Yin Yoga is so much more than just a physical stretch. And even if you're coming to the mat for just that, just know that, you know what? At some point, there's other things that are happening in the practice. Maybe at first you're unaware, you're unconscious of it, but at some point, you know what? That awareness will start to become a little more vibrant. The light bulb over your head will turn itself on. And the more you practice, the more you learn. This is why we call it a practice. It's always evolving. You're always healing and you're always growing, because that is the journey. Healing and growth, healing and growth. You're not ending it until the day that you no longer breathe and are alive in this physical body. So just give Yin a try. As long as you have an open mind, then your energy will be open as well. So thanks so much for pressing play on today's episode. Make sure to check out some of the other episodes from season 1, where I dive in a little bit more into some of the other emotions like fear and like worry, and how to clear that out. And I'll see you in the next episode. Namaste.